So, Brian, what were the key takeaways for your talk?
I think the key takeaways for the talk are basically that technology is super important. Technology ethics is how to think about how to use technology to get the maximum benefit out of it and avoid a lot of the harms that are happening. I talked about the Markowitz Center framework for ethical decision making, which is a 5-step process that goes from recognizing an ethical issue to getting the facts to thinking about that through 5 different ethical lenses, then testing out the idea of what action you want to take, and then ultimately at the end, step 5, taking that action and reflecting on it and learning from it. And then I also talked about our ethical toolkit, which is part of our ethics and tech practice materials. And I talked about 7 different tools. I talked about ethical risk sweeping, in other words, thinking about what are the risks that could go wrong with the technology, what can you do to avoid those sorts of risks. Premortems and postmortems, in terms of how can you anticipate what might go wrong and how can you avoid those things, and if something does go wrong, how can you learn from it. Step 3 was thinking about, let's see if I can remember it now. Think about my own, let's see, there's case studies, so thinking about what the analogies are, what things are similar, what kind of cases can you learn from. Then there's also remembering the ethical benefits of technology. You don't want to only think about the bad aspects of technology, but also what are the good things that you're aiming for. And then also you want to think about how bad people are going to potentially abuse your technology. You want to try to take those incentives away. You want to expand the ethical circle and think about how many people are involved in it. Don't just think about a very narrow group of people, but also a much larger group of people who could be involved by that technology. And lastly, you want to close the ethical loop, bring it back on itself, and think about how can you learn from this in the future and make things better. And then I talked about how we've been working with corporations to try to improve their product development processes and improve decision making.
That's fantastic. Why is ethics important for responsible innovation?
I would say that the entire notion of responsibility has an ethical element to it. In other words, ethics broadly crosses all sorts of human action. Our entire scope of human action, anything that has a good or a bad element to it, or a right or a wrong element to it. And when you're thinking about responsibility falls in there as how do I make sure that I'm achieving a good end? How do I seek a good, and also how do I avoid bad things?
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Brian.
All right.